coming to a movie theater near you. He came from the future to a racetrack in the present.
I am your new driver.
Hello, but I think we've already got a driver.
I need your clothes and your F1 car.
If I give you those, will you let go of my neck?
Alexander Wurz is the Wurzinator.
The car is on the steering.
That's right, how much extra front wing would you like?
9 millimeters.
The Wurzinator. He absolutely will not stop. Unless his Williams breaks down on lap 23 again.
Welcome to Gareth Jones on Speed, recorded with some new technology for the second time, and it seems to work. We've got a little digital recorder. I don't know why I'm telling you that. I'll tell you some useful stuff. Zog's here.
Hello.
And Richard's here.
Hello.
Far be it ever for Gareth Jones on Speed to be sensible. We have flashes of sanity, but I don't think we're ever sensible. But Richard, you've been doing something very sensible recently. You've been driving a very sensible car.
Yeah, I went to Sardinia to drive the new Ford Mondeo. In the same week as I raced a Jaguar JP1 and came third against two people who properly drive races. The honour of Gareth Jones on Speed was upheld, and I lost my car as well, but that's not important.
We'll come back to that.
I've lost my car. Anyway, new Mondeo, yes. It went out.
Wait, hang on, when you say you've lost your car, have you parked it somewhere?
Yeah, it's just not where I left it, but it's not been stolen. It's a long story. Quite embarrassing, as it turns out.
I'll ask you about that in a minute.
I just think similar in Golders Green once, and I had to steal my own car a year later. But that's how.
What? You had to steal your own car?
Well, I'd left it parked in Golders Green,
right.
And when about a year later, when I went to check it out, somebody had obviously been
Hang
using.
Whoa! About a year later, why did you park it for a year?
It's a long story.
Okay,
but
somebody'd been using your car.
Yeah, they re-registered it in their name.
No.
They had their own little sort of cushion in there, and so I figured, well, I can't just get in this car and start it up and drive it off because
even though technically you had the keys.
Even though technically I had the key. Well, I think he'd had another set cut.
Whoa!
They'd always been using it.
Yeah.
So I thought, what can I do? Well, I've got the keys. I'll get Stevie to give me a hand, and we will tow it back to my place. So we towed it back to my place, leaving behind the cushion that was had been in the car that was kind of giving a bit of just a slightly higher driving position for
so that narrowed down
for
who
the driver.
nicked it then.
Well, I didn't know. I left the cushion
Danny
behind because I
DeVito?
figured I'd be it would be theft if I took the cushion, but if I left that
What if
behind,
you
that
had
was
like
okay.
a new starter motor put on it or something? Would you have to
give
that
that back?
No.
It's tricky, though.
This is the great thing about it. He put a new radiator in for me, and and it had a leak. So fixed the radiator. I just made a little report at the police station to explain what I'd done, so that when he reported the car stolen, wouldn't be any comebacks.
So we'll come back to why your car is missing first. But will you please tell me about this Mondeo? Can I tell you what I think about it?
Go for it.
Great. I think we've said this before. Lovely at the front, and I like big Fords. Lovely at the front. It's a bit of a Mercedes S500, the old SEL, or at the back. It's big slab-sided.
Yeah, there's too much metal between the wheel arch and the window. That's
Yeah,
the problem. But the
that's
estate
right.
is quite nice. But, looks-wise, subjective. Driving-wise, it's just brilliant. It's just unbelievably good. It's one of those cars that you can't really pinpoint anything particularly wrong with it to drive. And in a world without badge snobbery, you would go and buy one straight off instead of, say, an Audi A4, which I always think has been a sort of piece of quality engineering, but actually not that nice to drive.
Yeah.
And the Mondeo is just superb. I drove that 5-cylinder one, which bizarrely, even Ford in Britain say that only 2% of Mondeos sold will have that engine, the 2.5 litre turbo 5-cylinder. Out
Most
the
people
ST.
will have the.
Why are they bothering?
Yeah.
Why bother for that number? But it's good that they have, because it is terrific. And the engine, you can rev it if you really want to go for it, or you just stick it in gear and it'll torque its way out of anything. It's just a really, really sorted bit of kit.
But why do Ford need to make the Mondeo when they've got the S-Max?
Well, Do you know, normally, when car people do a new car and they go, yes, our sales projections are this, and we're going to do this, and it's all going to be brilliant. And Ford are sort of weirdly laid back about the Mondeo. They're confident because, everyone's saying, oh, that sort of medium-sized car that's not got a posh badge on it, no one buys those anymore. It's still like 150,000 sold every year in Britain. It's worth doing the car. But doesn't matter to them as long as somebody buys either a Mondeo or an S-Max or a Galaxy, because they're all built on the same production line. They can just fiddle with the mix to suit.
I'm guessing no fleet manager ever got fired for buying Ford Mondeos, though. That's probably a factor in this success, isn't it?
Well, I don't know, really, because it's like depreciation and all that, because the Mondeo will just depreciate like nobody's business, probably, compared to, say, a Merc C-Class. But
Zog, you love cars, you love a great car no matter what the mark, but I guess you might find it hard to drive a Ford. They're just not sexy unless it's, a Ford GT?
Well, no. I did used to be a bit of a snob about Fords, to be honest, but I kind of fell in love with Capris at one point, and I did have I had a rather splendid 2-litre Ford Capri gear that was, in all honesty, an MOT failure waiting to happen.
Oh yeah, but I remember that song because you left it in Golders Green and I used it for a year. Had the MOT done.
It was you.
No, it was the midget I had to get back from Golders Green. But no, it was. I just loved that Capri. It just felt so good sitting behind the wheel, looking over that bonnet with this wonderful kind of power bulge right bang in the middle of the road. It's the British muscle car. That's
Well, yeah. Muscle car that
well,
doesn't
okay.
go to the gym.
It's as close as mainstream British car culture ever got to the
British
muscle
Mustang.
car. Yeah.
Within the confines of what else was going on at the time, the Capri, it was the car you never really promised yourself, was it? But I always harboured a desire to own a second-hand Capri when I got older. I never have, though.
Well, you can pick up really ropey ones for about 150 quid, and I can tell you they'll last about 9 months. You'll have a great time, and.
I've always thought middle-sized Fords are great. I've always, a soft spot in the heart. It's genetic. I was brought up with them. And yet I look at the new Mondeo, and if I was, a fleet manager, I'd rather have a cheaper, lower spec Jag X-Type or something. I just think that's how the mindset works.
Well, yeah.
And that's Ford's problem, isn't it?
Unfortunately for Ford, everybody wants a sort of posho German car. And I'll say it right now, I think that new Mondeo is nicer to drive than an Audi A4, or certainly the outgoing Mercedes C-Class. I've not tried the new one. And frankly, given the choice between a 5-cylinder Mondeo and a 318i, I'd go for the Mondeo, because that 318i is just extremely boring. I am, I think, unique in that respect. Everybody just wants a posh German car to impress their neighbours.
Gareth Jones on speed, saying no to badge snobbery.
Do you like my Armani shoes?
Hi, I'm Barry Adams, and here's another shouty advertorial. Need a car that doesn't just have clean lines, but cleans up as well? Then you need the Honda Civic Bang! Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on, please. Come on. The Vauxhall Corsa. Come on. A million housewives every day pick up a can of beans and say, "Hi, it's Harold Franson."
Okay, guys, you're our marketing supremos. Names for our new car. Now, it's got to be something that says sporty.
Spice.
No, let me finish. It's got to be something that says sporty, but it's also got to say quality.
Street?
No, please stop just saying things after I've said the words. It's got to say sporty, quality, but it also needs to communicate luxury.
Yacht.
Really, just let me finish. So, to sum up, sporty, quality, luxury. So come on, guys, think. I love it. Perfect. It really does communicate our brand values. John, you're our copyright guy. Any problems with that?
Not as such, but I've just done a search, and apparently it's Chinese for what happens when you do a fart and a little bit of poo comes out.
Oh, I see.
That could be a problem.
I don't think we need to worry about the Chinese market.
A lot of car adverts around at the moment. Some good ones, some bad ones. What's your favourite, Zog?
I love those Nissan 4x4 ads, or the Nissan 4x4 ad, in which the 4x4 is morphing first into a kind of a huge mechanical panther type beast.
Yep.
Then it's a huge mechanical spider scrabbling across this, sort of rough scree slope, and then it turns into some kind of, sci-fi underwater crocodile, and then it's
all sort of carbon fibre black as well, isn't it? It's quite dramatic.
And I love the way they're doing all the transitions. I hate the vehicles. I love the advert. It's almost good enough to make me see them in a new light.
But do you like the advert because of the clever CGI type computer-generated thing stuff that's going on?
Yes.
You see, that's the thing. As an advert, I'm not so sure, because particularly there's a spin-off series of posters that you see on billboards and in magazines where there'll be like an X-Trail that's part snake, or what's that pickup one called? The pickup one. And it's like it's sort of a bit of a spider.
No?
The Pathfinder's the pickup with the back on it. The pickup is called the Navara. Navara, indeed. And I always think just they've associated them with spiders and snakes and things like that no one likes. So, from an advertising point of view, funny associations.
Yeah.
Not sure about that.
My eldest son, who knows a thing or three about cars these days, when he saw the advert on TV, it came to the end, he went, "Oh, cool."
Well, there you are.
There we go then.
But there was a qualifier. He said, "Dad, can that Nissan really do that?"
Yeah.
And I said, "No." "Well, they shouldn't be allowed to advertise it because that's lying," he said.
It's true. For the advertising standards people.
Richard, you got a favourite car advert?
No. But I have got... I'm trying to think, because I'm sure there are ones that are very, 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 very good. But no, the one that I can't make up my mind about it is the Volvo C30 one that's playing here in the U of K at the moment, which has got... it's a love and hate theme. And actually, within an ad break, say during the F1, they'll run an advert that will say, "You love this car," and then an advert that sort of implies that some people will hate it. It's a brave policy.
It's a Marmite kind of ad.
Yeah, it is exactly that Marmite idea that of saying we're honest enough to say some people will hate this, because I think the idea is they'll appeal to people who like it, because they'll go, good, I don't want everyone to like my car. I want it to be different. I want to be free-thinking, left field. In that respect,
and I can see that's
quite
a good
clever.
one.
However, I'm told, and I've not seen this yet, there's again a billboard spin-off which has got some stickmen, and it's split in half. And on one side, stickman kind of going, "Yay, I love this car," and on the other side, a stickman vomiting. I don't think you can sell cars with the image of a stickman vomiting.
How do you do a line drawing of a stickman vomiting?
I don't know. I want to see this ad. I'm just trying to think as well. Has there ever been an advert in the past that employs the medium of vomit to try and sell something? Because it's really, that's the snakes and spiders are nothing compared to a pool of sick.
Vomiting, I think, came top. I think of a list of sounds that people found offensive and disturbing in a survey.
There were a number of cars manufactured by British Leyland in the 70s whose paint schemes were inspired by the colour of vomit.
The 70s was quite vomit-coloured generally, wasn't it?
It was a very vomit generation.
A lot of Austin Princess variations, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry,
we visited that place for a moment.
But car ads. Anyway, so Volvo one, I don't know. I can't make up my mind about that. I think it could be very, very clever, but it's also a bit odd. So there we go. Gareth, your thoughts, please, sir.
Well, on the Volvo, I think it's tricky. Darren Brown would probably say it's a very dangerous thing to put any kind of negative connotation in the mind of someone who's thinking about making a choice. Yeah. But, Darren Brown ain't here to defend his quarter.
Oh, well, that's standard advertising theory, though. You should even to the point. Do you remember that classic, or I always regard it as a classic advert for the Audi A4, where you've got this kind of really unctuous, yuppie git who takes one for a test drive and then gets out and goes, "Nah, not my kind of thing." Yeah. It was sort of saying, the right kind of people like this car, the wrong kind of people, don't worry, they won't buy it. People you don't like won't buy this car. Very clever. I interviewed the guy who came up with that. There's a guy called Johnny Mazzaris, who was head of VW Group advertising in the UK and Europe for years. Very clever bloke. And I said, you must be quite proud of that one as well, because he did the changes one with the VW Golf GTI and the woman throwing away the fur coat.
Paula Hamilton, wasn't it?
Paula Hamilton, and the jewellery and stuff like that. And she throws away all the trappings that her rich ex-boyfriend has given her, except the Golf, which she decides to hang on to. Brilliant, classic ad, defining moment of the 80s. And I said, so sort of defining moment of the 90s, showing that Audis at that point saying, we don't appeal to yuppies. And he went, no. actually, in retrospect, that was a really bad idea. Things you should never do in advertising because it's lazy and it shows that you're not being clever enough. Trash your competitors and be negative in any way.
Right, it doesn't make you look good.
And he's like a real sort of guru of advertising theory.
Now, in a way, that kind of disappoints me because it seems to me that if you can't be negative about anything, in an advert within that creative space, you're really limiting what you can do creatively. Are we really so? Are we all sort of kind of so dumb that we can't take a bit of that sort of a bit of negativity in there? Because I can absolutely understand the psychology that they're going for with that Audi ad. Of sort of saying, if you're an average car buyer, kind of after a nice decent car, but you're easily swayed by flashy things, this car isn't for you. It's this car's a little bit too kind of. It's a little bit too much for the more discerning guy.
Yes,
too refined.
Tasteful car,
It's
I have to say,
it's snob appeal, but that's.
I disagree with this guy. I mean, he invented the ad. He can say what he wants about it. I disagree. I still think it's a very clever ad, and it's interesting that Volkswagen, this guy's now retired. VW are running some Golf ads at the moment that work on exactly the same theme. They've basically just dug up an old theme with The Great Pretender, and a version of The Great Pretender by Queen over the top, a sort of spoken word version, and it's this very flash, obnoxious, but essentially hollow man. And then he goes through some revolving doors and sees an identical bloke, but sort of more discreetly dressed, who gets into a Golf and clearly has integrity, and it's as if if that sliding doors mentality, his life had changed.
It could have been
in some way.
It's him in an
that
alternative universe.
subtle guy who actually had friends and didn't live in a sort of flash apartment, but ate Chinese takeaway every night and was ultimately sad and lonely. So same theory, and again very negative. I still think it's a very clever advert. But I'm not an advertising guru, so what do I know?
There are a series of adverts at the moment which are allied to ITV's coverage of Formula One. Honda are clearly advertising it. They're doing the bumper brakes. Yeah. Here's the thing, though. This is a bit of a worry.
By the way, on a car theme, are these not called, in the television industry, they're called bumpers.
Bumpers, that's right. Yeah. Bumpers, that's right. Yeah, get the bumper up to the brake, right?
Yeah, Americans always say, we'll leave space for the bumpers. What? Don't you say fenders? Oh, I see. Right.
Yeah.
Sorry, anyway.
If you look at the adverts, what have we seen? There's one with a guy driving a little Honda Ride-On More, and he's racing down a hill in it, right? There's another one where they're lowering an engine into a non-discernible car.
Yeah, but it also looks to me like it's just the rear, it's the main monocoque. It hasn't got chassis rails or engine mounts in it, which suggests why their F1 cars are bad. They've forgotten how to engineer stuff.
They can't really play on their racing heritage anymore, because their racing present is just so ghastly.
The final advert, have you seen it? A lovely little lightweight sports car being driven down the road by people who listen.
Kind of in slow motion.
What's the car?
Aerial Atom.
It's an Aerial Atom, right? Yeah. What's the key thing about all these adverts, right? None of these adverts feature Honda cars. Obviously, the Atom's got a Honda engine, right? It seems to me that Honda are so tearing their hair out over the performance of their dreadful Formula One cars at the moment, they don't really want to associate their cars directly, even though they've got to advertise.
I would be willing to bet that's what's happened, because advertising people, they spend a long time worrying about this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Let's get all the cars out of the ads while the Formula One cars are doing badly. As soon as it starts to pick up, if it does, there'll be a ruddy great accord in those bumpers.
Jensen Button edition. Advertising cars, dangerous game. This podcast was made by Whizbang with no product endorsement or advertising whatsoever. Shame, really.